Hey guys, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, alongside my own beautiful creation of pen and ink and sperm, Ewan. Now, one of the many things we share besides lovers, it's not weird, it's a bonding moment, is our love of Spider-Man. Yeah, it's for quite different reasons. For while Ewan is drawn to the light, I fester in the dark. So what we thought you'd do today is share something with you all. A little game, if you will.
We're each going to tell you a tale about the best and worst days of a specific superhero's life, and what we want you to do is let us know in the comments which you thought was the best. So with that in mind, I'm Ewan.
And I'm Jules.
And this is the best and worst day of Spider-Man's life. It's rare that a superhero's best day could be tied so directly to their worst, but that's very much the case for Marvel's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Although the old Parker luck has dictated that Pete's experienced something of a torrid time, shall we say, it hasn't been short of wonderful moments. Most of these have stemmed from his many relationships, including his time with Gwen Stacy, which also ended under tragic circumstances. Don't mention the Oaken Bray Ekne, but it's Mary Jane who's been with Peter through thick and thin. Say what you will about MJ's character, but there is no denying how iconic her relationship with Peter Parker is. Writers have celebrated it time and again, notably in Matt Fraction's sensational story, To Have and To Hold, but undoubtedly the pair's high point occurred in 1987, where they both tied the knot and moved in together as husband and wife. Marriage is something of a controversial topic for the medium, and many in Marvel would later come to view the move as something that prevented their favourite everyman from relating to their young readership. In any case, 1987's The Wedding! Proved to be the defining comic book event of that year. The actual lead up to the event isn't all that rosy either, as both Pete and MJ have serious doubts about making such a big commitment. Pete worries about supporting them with his job at the Bugle, all while a big party is had and J. Jonah Jameson himself cuts the pay of all those who don't attend. And MJ even has to deal with an appearance from an ex-boyfriend who wants to whisk her away to Paris in an attempt to, quote-unquote, win her back. Of course, in the end, the couple put their doubts behind them and attend the ceremony where they're joined by friends and family alike. This event would also mark a major change in the status quo of Spidey's books, and though both he and MJ would have to endure their fair share of challenges along the way, the Clone Saga, there's no getting away from the fact that the ceremony itself was an undoubted highlight of Peter Parker's life. Which brings us to his worst day. Take it away, Jules.
You might think that the answer is simple at first, that the worst day of Peter Parker's life would be the day that he lost somebody incredibly close to him, and there are a few to choose from. Uncle Ben was a huge impact on Peter, and his death at the hands of a fugitive who Spider-Man had let slip past him held ramifications that would echo throughout the young hero's life. However, as we see in the latest Spider-Man films, Ben's death, while still being a notable absence, is downplayed to the extent that we can actually allow flirtatious scenes between Aunt May and Tony Stark. Ben's death is also a catalyst, something that drives and defines Spider-Man as an icon, and in the greater scheme of things is widely accepted that the death of this one person shapes the lives of thousands of others for the better. So, what about Gwen Stacy? Well, her death was shocking when it first appeared in comics and felt like the entire ground had been ripped out from underneath Spider-Man. The Green Goblin instantly cemented himself as not just a brilliant foil for the web-slinger, but the villain to beat, leading to his death being some of the most cathartic reading in comic book history. However, again, this is a defining moment, and while the death was utterly heartbreaking for Spider-Man, his heart was eventually mended, and he found love in the form of everyone's favourite redhead, Mary Jane. As callous as it might sound, it was important that Spider-Man experiences both loss in both Ben and Gwen, as they represent two different facets of the curse of a superhero. One is that, and we all know where this is going, with great power comes great responsibility, that Spider-Man has to protect everyone and not allow himself to be corrupted by personal desires, and the other teaches him to distance himself from those he loves in order to protect them. Yet there is one day that Peter Parker experiences loss, learns nothing from the experience, and worst of all, is something that he chooses to do. I'm speaking, of course, about the events of Brand New Day. In this storyline, Aunt May is hit by a bullet and is rushed to hospital where it's confirmed that she will die. Peter, unable to accept this fate, approaches Mephisto and begs him to alter reality. Mephisto, being the tricksy little demon douchebag that he is, accepts this, but in exchange for this re-roll of the dice, he demands that Peter give up his wife MJ and their unborn child. Which he does. With reality rebuilt and MJ now separate from Peter once more, all he has to show for this is a very old woman who is still a stone's throw away from the Grim Reaper at the best of times. It was a story clearly done to reset the Spider-Verse, but in the process gave Peter his worst day ever. He chose to forego losing someone in exchange for his happiness, his future, his security, all for somebody who, lest we not forget, now has the joy of still not being with Ben in this new world that Peter has created. And he could have asked for him back, he just didn't. With this decision, Peter Parker unleashed a huge sadness that he didn't even consider, and in a massive slice of irony, turned Brand New Day into his absolute worst.